Welcome to Hi-Fi and Stage Dives, a SoCan licensed podcast coming to you weekly from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Each week, I talk about a song that's been stuck in your head at one point or another, or stuff you've never heard before. Welcome to this musical journey. Hello and welcome back to Hi-Fi and Stage Dives. If you know what song is playing right now, then goddamn you're good. If you don't and you're hearing this for the first time, well, let me throw some knowledge on your ass. This is motherfucking Jimi Hendrix. Where to start with this? So Mr. Hendrix, he has influenced so many people in so many ways, with so many things, and revolutionized so much stuff in the music industry. It's fucking ridiculous. His real name is Johnny Allen Hendrix. Born in 1942, November 27th, Seattle, Washington. He didn't live very long. He only lived till he was 27. He actually died in 1970 in Kingston, London, UK. So he lived a very short life. He's in the 27 club. I did it air quotes there. This guy has done okay. Let me do this. We'll break down some bits and I will talk. And I got lots of talking to do about this guy. There's not much to talk about for his catalog of music, unfortunately. He only has really 3 albums as a side project band thing. But I talk about all that later. So, London, England, genres: psychedelic rock, blues rock, acid rock, hard rock. Yes, acid rock. There's all those rumors of him putting LSD under his bandana, but he did do a lot of drugs and a lot of drinking. So his labels: Track UK, that's Reprise in North America. Website: Jimi&nbsp.com. So there was Jimi Hendrix, Noel Redding, Mitch Mitchell, and Billy Cox. Okay, so everybody knows him as Jimi Hendrix, but it's the Jimi Hendrix Experience is what they kind of went by loosely. Jimi Hendrix Experience was an American-English rock band that formed in Westminster, London. Singer-songwriter and guitarist Jimi Hendrix, bass player Noel Redding, and drummer Mitch Mitchell comprised the group, which was active until June 1969. During this time, they released 3 studio albums and became one of the most popular acts in rock. In April 1970, Hendrix, Mitchell, and bassist Billy Cox performed and recorded until Hendrix's death on September 18th, 1970. Later, the trio was sometimes billed as the Jimi Hendrix Experience, but the title was never formalized. I don't think they really had a name. There's one point where it's Jimi Hendrix and the Experience being his bandmates. So I had a tape, and I used to listen to this tape. I played this tape till it was fucking dead. It didn't play anymore. At one point, I had my English/music teacher wanted to buy it off me because it was a good fucking album and it was a good tape, and it was just a hard tape to find, and I found it in a flea market. I think I paid like $2 for it too, and it was great, man. Like, I listened to that thing like non-stop until my batteries died, till I broke my Walkman. Like, it was nuts. Jimi Hendrix. Highly influential in making hard rock and psychedelic rock popular. The Experience was best known for their skill, style, charisma of their frontman, Jimi Hendrix. All 3 band studio albums are Experience in 1967, Bold as Love in 1967, and Electric Lady in 1968 were featured in the top 100 Rolling Stones list of the 500 greatest albums of all time, at positions 15, 82, and 54. In 92, the Jimi Hendrix Experience was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. A little late to the show, I think. That guy should have been in bang. Not even a question. They got their loopholes and crap like that. Though conceived as a backup band for Hendrix, the Experience as a unit gained fame and critical acclaim following the lead of Cream. The Jimi Hendrix Experience was one of the first groups to popularize the power trio format, which limited rock bands' lineup to guitar, bass, and drums. Okay, now speaking from experience, a 3-piece is very hard, especially when you're thrashing around and playing guitar and you're as good as Jimi Hendrix is. The guy was a natural. Like, he sings and he can play guitar like nobody's business. And when he played his guitar, he just, it oozed out of him. It was just a thing. He was just that damn good. So, so I'm not going to do a feature song anymore because I got flagged a bunch of times and I don't feel like getting sued because I don't have much money. I make a good enough living to pay for myself and my house and the wife and the dogs, so I don't want to get sued for millions and millions of dollars. So what I'm going to do from now on is I'm just going to talk through all the music. I'll say which, I haven't figured this part out, but I think I'm just going to say what my favorite song is or what song I would have chose for the feature song. And in this case, it was going to be Castles Made of Sand. That song, it sticks out for me in so many ways, just from everything he said. I used to listen to it on acid. I used to listen to Jimi Hendrix all the time on a head full of acid. I also listened to it a lot in school, and that whole album, it's just, Jimi Hendrix opened up a whole new world for me and put me in a place of craziness to learn how to make different noises with my guitars, which I'm going to get to right now, and I'll talk about that. Hendrix combined lead and rhythm guitar styles and used special effects to modify his guitar sound, such as feedback and later the wah-wah pedal, to an unprecedented degree. Mitchell sometimes utilized jazz-influenced grooves, while Redding played simple bass lines that helped to anchor the band's sound. Okay, well, I heard stories of Jimi Hendrix on the boat, and he would try to mimic the sounds of the boat with his guitar, or mimic sounds that he heard with his guitar. I also heard that, I don't know if he did it, but I heard that people would intentionally stab the speaker of their amp to get a distorted sound. But Jimi Hendrix was the one who made it crazy, and he was the one who took it to that level, but he understood it. It was like there was an understanding with him, his guitar, and making it sound different. There was an understanding there, and you hear it because no one else did what he did. Visually, they set the trend in psychedelic clothes, hairstyles. Obviously, these guys had big-ass hair. I wish I had that kind of hair. Following his bandmates, Bob Dylan, in 1966 style hairdos, Mitchell got himself a perm. He permed his hair to make it big. A perm. My parents used to get perms. I remember they used to smell bad, and it was really bad hair. It's perms. Anyways. The earlier performances, such as at the Bag O' Nails in London, were attended by some of the biggest names in English rock scene. This is great. I love this part of the story. There's some cool stories that I picked up here, including members of the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and guitarist Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton. Those two guys, no joke when it comes to guitar. The Who's Pete Townsend admitted Jimmy changed the whole sound of electric guitar and turned the rock world upside down. Clapton agreed. After Pete Townsend and I went to see him play, I thought that was it. The game was up for all of us. We may as well pack it in. For someone to say something like that about you, like, you think, okay, whatever you do, and you are damn well proficient at it, and whoever in that, so here's an example. Cars. I've been working on cars, holy shit, I don't know how long, like forever. That's one thing. I'm a professional at repairing vehicles. I modified cars my whole life. I've repaired cars my whole life, and I mean everything from motor work to the body work. I'm a Red Seal auto body technician, so what that entails is body work, and in body work you also do motor repairs and overall vehicle repairs. So for me, being the person that I am with cars, I love cars. The equivalent to that, being called the best at that, would be like someone like Carol Shelby, Chip Foose, hell, even Jesse James coming up to me and saying, yo, that car, perfect. And that right there, that for me is nuts. That's like the kid playing basketball in the streets, in school, in the schoolyard, and Michael Jordan or LeBron come up to him and say, yo, or Kobe say, yo, you're better than me. You are, like that's what the craziness of that is. I know a lot of you are like, holy shit, shut up already, I get it. But there's a lot of people that don't know who these people really are. Younger people, obviously. I know don't get me wrong, there's a lot of young people that do know. The group started gaining like crazy success in the U.S. after the June 1967 Monterey Pop Festival. This is one of the first major rock festivals. The band's performance ended with Hendrix famously setting his psychedelic painted Fender Stratocaster on fire. Yes, it's the one that's on fire, and he's making love to it, and he's flicking his fingers and his tongue at it. After the festival, they toured with the Monkees. Hey, we're the Monkees. Yeah, those guys. But they left 2 weeks later, reportedly due to lack of audience response. I don't blame them. I just don't see them touring with the Monkees. Fuck. They did a TV show, for fuck's sakes. With the experience, Hendrix recorded several hit singles such as Hey Joe, Purple Haze, The Wind Cries Mary, Burning of the Midnight Lamp, and All Along the Watchtower, and the 3 successful albums. Are You Experienced? Bold as Love, and Electric Ladyland, I mentioned earlier. But in April 1969, his relationship with Redding started falling apart. They went their separate ways. The original group held together long enough to fulfill their existing engagements in Denver, the pop festival, on June 29, 1969. After hearing that Hendrix was planning to expand the Experience lineup without first consulting him, Redding quit the group and returned to England. He was sour grapes. He had sour grapes, people. He was not happy. Hendrix and Mitchell experimented with a larger ensemble that included bassist Billy Cox, sometimes referred to as Gypsy Sun and the Rainbows. That's the other band. They performed at Woodstock Festival in August 1969. By November, the lineup split, and Hendrix returned to the trio format with Cox and drummer Buddy Miles. Buddy Miles, amazing drummer. This guy's on a crazy, crazy drummer. Gypsy Sun and the Rainbow. After recording the Band of Gypsies album and an aborted performance in January 1970, Miles was fired. Michael Jeffries, now Hendrix manager, called Redding and Mitchell about reforming the Experience. Both agreed to participate in tour. Hendrix was open to having Mitchell rejoin, but reluctant to bring Redding back into the fold. In early February 1970, Jeffrey set up an interview with Rolling Stones magazine to announce the return of the group, published on March 1970 in Rolling Stones as JH, the end of a beginning maybe. Redding waited for weeks to hear back from them about rehearsal and upcoming tours, and when he finally spoke to Mitchell's girlfriend, he learned that he'd been replaced by Cox. Before they started the tour, Hendrix called it the Cry for Love Tour. The group itself was referred to as Jimi Hendrix, sometimes Jimi Hendrix Experience. So there was no, like I said earlier, there's no solidified names. All you knew is that you were going to see Jimi Hendrix. The trio toured and recorded in the U.S. Until August 1970 as a headliner at the Isles of Wight Festival in 1970. During the break in the tour, Hendrix died on September 8th, 1970. In 92, the Experience was inducted into the Hall of Fame, like I said. Noel Redding was found dead in his home in Ireland on May 11, 2003. While touring in the U.S., Mitchell was found dead on November 12, 2008 in his room at the Benson Hotel in Portland, Oregon. These guys, man, they were doing all sorts of drugs, though, then. Like, there was the hippie culture, there was heroin, LSD, the free love and sex thing, man. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like, that's what they did. And, like, their lifestyle was bonkers, man. If you go, like, Google the Woodstock from the 60s, and you, like, look at these pictures, there is more dick and boobs. There's genitalias everywhere. Like, it's a rated R festival. But they didn't see it that way. There's no way in hell you could do that nowadays, because you would be in jail for who knows what. Somebody would put you in jail for something. They'd be offended for something. Who knows what. But you'd be in jail. Definitely. Probably for a fucking long-ass time, too. So I got a few things. I got some stuff about Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that. So to recap really quick. 3 albums. Are You Experienced? Bold as Love, Electric Ladyland. And then he had his other little band, Gypsy Sun and the Rainbows. So check it out. It's great. This playlist that we're listening to right now, I put together. I went through every single one of the albums. It was hard for me to do it all, but I really picked the songs that really hit home for me, or I try to remember that tape. Fuck, I wish I knew where that tape was, but holy crap. So good. And he honestly, like, when I started playing guitar, and because of Jimi Hendrix, I started making weird noises. Like Tom Morello, I've noticed, I said before, Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine has influenced me in so many ways, but it was Jimi Hendrix that got me to start making weird noises. I used to play with, like, the strings on the top by the tuning pegs. They make this weird twang, like, creepy plucky noise. I would do stuff like that, or feedback. I had my first distortion pedal. I think I still have it. I do have it. I still have it. The knob is missing, but it has a feedback option on it, and it's a gnarly pedal. But I used to play with that all the time, and then that and my wah, that's all I had. I had a distortion pedal with a feedback loop thing on it and a fucking wah pedal, and that's all I needed. And then I figured out some little tricks along the way, and it was because of Jimi Hendrix and the inspirations of Jimi Hendrix that really pushed me to, like, go out of my way to learn how to play guitar in a different way, not just in a normal, got these chords and these the structures and this and that and these scales, which I should have learned when I was younger instead of when I got older. But that's how I learned, and I was all self-taught. Like, it took a month, I think, worth of lessons. My dad paid for it all, and I went, and it just, I can only play Baba Black Sheep so much. I wasn't going to be a concert guitar player. I wanted to play metal, and I wanted to play Jimi fucking Hendrix. So that's what I did. Started with my acoustic, realized it wasn't loud enough, exactly like every other guitar player, including Jimi Hendrix. Got an electric. My very first guitar was a 1979 Ibanez Iceman. I tell you what, I still have it. It's hanging on my wall right now, and I still have it, and I still play it, and it's still my favorite guitar. I'm very careful with it because it's very, very fragile. But I still play it. So I got some cool stories about Hendrix. His lineage, I guess you call it, like where he's from. There's a Canada connection. That's why I'm stoked on this. And he was in the Army. Hendrix began playing guitar at the age of 15 in 1961, and then he enlisted in the Army and trained as a paratrooper in the 101st Airborne Division. He was granted an honorable discharge the following year. Soon afterwards, he moved to Clarksville, Tennessee, where he began to play gigs on the Chitlin circuit, earning a place with the Isley Brothers backing band. So the Isley Brothers, back then, very, very popular, very, very good band. And then later with none other than Mr. Little Richards. If you don't know who Little Richards is, you need to do yourself a favor and Google and get some YouTubes. The guy is a animal. He's great. With whom he continued to work through mid-1965. He then played with Curtis Knight, another great player, and the Squires before moving to England in 1966. After being discovered by Linda Keith, who in turn interested Chaz Chandler of the Animals to become his first manager. Within months, Hendrix had earned 3 UK top 10s. If that's not saying something, I don't know what is. I got these wicked quotes. When I saw these quotes, I couldn't stop. Holy George Warner of Rolling Stones commented, Hendrix pioneered the use of the instrument as an electric sound source. Players before him had experimented with feedback and distortion, but Hendrix turned those effects and others into controlled, fluid vocabulary, every bit as personal as blues with which he began. That's a prolific thing. So, like I said, his background is great. And here comes the Canadian connection. Are you ready for this? Jimi Hendrix he had a crazy diverse background. So his grandmother was a Nora, they called her Nora, Rosemore, African-American, and 1/4 Cherokee. Hendrix's grandfather, Bertrand Philander Ross Hendrix. Holy crap, that's a crazy name. Names like, you don't have names like this anymore. He was born in 1866. Was born of an extramarital affair between a woman named Fanny and a grain merchant from Urbana, Ohio, or Illinois. One of the wealthiest men in the area at the time. That's nuts. Here's the Canadian connection. You ready? After Hendrix and Moore relocated to Vancouver, Canada, they had a son named James Allen Ross Hendrix on July 10th, 1919. The family called him Al. There's your Canadian connection. It's cool because after I was reading about it too, they would go back and forth from Canada. Jimi Hendrix would actually go stay with his family in Canada, which is totally dope. Not just Canada. That's right, Vancouver. Beautiful British Columbia, Vancouver. That's our neighbors of Alberta. And I'm actually going to, well, when you get this, I just came back from Van and watching my best friend get married. So after they moved to Vancouver in 41, after moving to Seattle, Hal met Lucille Jeter at a dance. And this is old school now. He met this lady at a dance. They danced, they hit it off, and they got married. They didn't have Tinder or Plenty of Fish back then. They had dances. Al would be drafted in the U.S. Army to serve in World War II, and his basic training 3 days after the wedding. Johnny Allen Hendrix was born on November 7th, 1942, a.k.a. Mr. Jimi Hendrix, in Seattle. He was the first of Lucille's 5 children. In 1946, Johnny's parents changed his name to James Marshall Hendrix in honor of Al and his late brother, Leon Marshall. He had 3 brothers and a sister, and they were all put up for adoption. Back then, too, just shit was fucked. So when he was in school, and Jimi Hendrix was in school, he used to carry around a broom to emulate a guitar. And it gained the attention of the school social worker. And after more than a year of clinging onto a broom like a security blanket, she wrote a letter requesting the school for funding intended for underprivileged children, insisting that leaving him without a guitar might result in psychological damage. Her efforts failed, and Al, his dad, refused to buy him a guitar. This is really cool. In 1957, while helping his father on a side job, Hendrix found a ukulele amongst garbage that they were removing from an older woman's home. She told him that he could keep the instrument, which only had 1 string, and he learned by ear. He played single notes following along with Elvis Presley songs, particularly Presley's cover of Leiber and Stoller, Hound Dog. Ain't nothing but a hound dog. That song? He learned how to play that on 1 string on a ukulele. How he tuned it, I have no clue. In mid-1958, at the age of 15, Hendrix acquired his first acoustic guitar for $5. I wish you could. Back then, there was like Gibson. So now, well, Gibson isn't what it used to be. But anyways, back then you could buy like a Gibson, like a Les Paul, and I think it was like $125 I seen it for. If I had one of those now, I'd probably be close to $1 million. So he bought his first acoustic guitar for $5. He earnestly applied himself, playing the instrument several hours daily, watching others getting tips from experienced guitarists and listening to blues artists such as Muddy Waters, amazing, Mr. fucking B.B. King. B.B. King, I know everyone's like, oh, B.B. King, everyone knows B.B. King, but dude's great. I don't care what anybody says, and his guitar's called Lucille. Howlin' Wolf and Robert Johnson. The first tune Hendrix learned how to play was Peter Gunn, the theme from the TV series of the same name. It's nutty. Soon after he acquired the acoustic guitar, Hendrix formed his first band, the Velvetones. Without an electric guitar, he could barely be heard over the sound of the group. After about 3 months, he realized that he needed to get an electric guitar in order to continue. In mid-59, his father relented and bought him a white Supro Ozar. Hendrix's first gig was with an unnamed band in Jaff Room in Seattle, but after he did too much showing off, the band fired him between sets. Fucking idiots. Okay, check this out. I play guitar right now, playing bands. Oh, I used to play in bands. What if I what if I quit, and the band went on and they became the Jimi Hendrix of my era? What a slap in the mouth. Like, I mean, you don't know, which is absolutely fair, but that is bonkers to say that hey, I fired Jimi Hendrix. And it wasn't even like after a show, it was between shows, or between a set. So like you go up to your set and then, hey, get the fuck out of here, you're doing too much, you're fired. He later joined the Rocking Kings, which played professionally at venues such as Birdland Club. When someone stole his guitar after he left it backstage overnight, Al bought him a red silver-toned Dan Electro. I mean, proof is in the pudding, right? When you're that damn good, you're that damn good. I'm almost done, which is kind of weird, but like I said, there isn't much to Jimi Hendrix. He only had 3 albums. I mean, he impacted the world of music so crazy. He came, it's just like this, in and out, bang, done, boom. So I got these really wicked quotes and some other little things, and I'll talk a little bit more, obviously. This is Jimi Hendrix. I don't happen to know much about jazz. I know that most of those cats are playing nothing but blues, though. I know that much. Mr. Jimi Hendrix on jazz music. Guitar Player Magazine, May 2012. He changed everything. What don't we owe Jimi Hendrix? For his monumental rebooting of guitar culture, standards of tone, technique, gear, signal processing, rhythm playing, soloing, stage presence, chord voicing, charisma, fashion, and composition. He is guitar hero #1. I can totally agree with that. Okay, so yeah, Jimi Hendrix now, like, I don't know if he was still alive, he'd probably be just bonkers, but he, sure, there's the Johnny Malmsteens and, you know, your Steve Vai, your Shredmasters, but we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for Jimi Hendrix. Straight up. I don't care what anybody says. That is just common sense. And I'm sure there's other guitar players or bands that were doing what he was doing, but nobody did it like him. He was the pivotal point in music, and there's fucking very key people or bands and pivotal points in music history. We all know that, and he was most definitely one of them. He took it to where it had to go, where it was going, and it did it naturally. You can't argue that. The Experienced Rock and Roll Hall of Fame biography states, Jimi Hendrix was arguably the greatest instrumentalist in the history of rock music. I'm not even going to touch that with a 40-foot pole because that's true. Musicologist Andy Alderott describes Hendrix as one of the most creative and influential musicians that has ever lived. Music journalist Chuck Phillips wrote, I love this because it fucking slaps everybody in the face. In a field almost exclusively populated by white musicians, Hendrix has served a role as a role model for the crowd of young black rockers. His achievement was to reclaim the title of music formerly pioneered by black innovators like Little Richard and Chuck Berry. See, Chuck Berry, that's another great example. He was a fucking nut job on guitar too, but they just didn't do what Jimi Hendrix could do. Jimi was on another planet. Jimi did things that nobody could fucking do, and nobody thought. Maybe it was the acid, who knows? Maybe it was the drugs and the alcohol. We don't know that. But the guy was a fucking genius in every aspect of guitar. Who lights their fucking guitar on fire? Jimi Hendrix. People tried copying it. but you're never going to copy what Jimi Hendrix did. The guy is hella good. I wish I had a quarter of this guy's fucking talent. Everybody's going to be like, oh, just a quarter. I play better than him. Yeah, sure you do. Okay, let's see you do it, first of all. Sure, you'll be able to do what he can do, but can you do it right? Can you do it like Jimi Hendrix did? No. You want to know why? Because of the feel and the way it came out. It was natural. It wasn't copied. You can imitate but not duplicate. You can't. The things he started are not easily duplicated. Like Tom Morello. Yeah, everybody can like that. So there's that dude that was on. I started following him on Instagram. And Tom Morello broke his hand. Guy jumped up on stage and they gave him a guitar, one Tom Morello, and he started doing it. It was great. He did the solos, everything. Like, it was fucking nuts. This guy's good. He's like, this is why you're always ready no matter what. You always have your shit ready. And it's true. Like, it rang through. It's funny because when he said that, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I know exactly what he's saying. I was like, what if? Like, what if one day, I'm playing and I'll go see this band and they pull me up and I was like, I gotta play this guitar. Like, I thought of stuff like that. This guy has done it and it's great. Now, my point is that Tom Morello has a specific way of playing and you can't 100% copy him. This guy was very, very close, but you can tell the difference between him and Tom Morello. 100%. What he did, though, was great. Now, there's a lot of people that are going to be able to do what Jimi Hendrix does, but they're not going to be able to do it exactly like Jimi Hendrix. There's a flavor, there's a feel to it, and you just can't duplicate a feel like that. You can get close, you can have this, it's the same type of feel, or it's got the same flavor. You know what it's like? It's like mom's soup. I don't know about you guys, but my mom makes a hella great soup, and I love her soup. It's a really hard gauge for me now. People are like, oh, you gotta try this soup. It's fucking the best soup. I try it, and it's like, yeah, it's good. And it's legit, it's good, but it's not my mom's soup. My mom makes the best soup, and I swear, I've been telling my mom, like, she should be canning this soup and selling it. But that's my whole point. You cannot duplicate the original. It's not a fucking carbon copy. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Every strum of the string, every strum of the guitar, every funny face you make, every just breath is a part of that song, and it cannot be duplicated. So yeah, I'm done rambling, guys. I love it. Like, I'm doing a back-to-back here. So I did 3 podcasts within 3 days. That's how my day has been, because I'm trying to get this done so when I go, I don't have to worry about it when I go to Van, right? So when you get this on Tuesday, I recorded this on Wednesday. But I was listening, the whole point is like, I was like, oh, I gotta do a band that's really, so I can do really quick and I don't have to worry about it. And then I end up going down the rabbit hole, Jimi Hendrix. I'm just like, it's amazing, because he only had 3 albums, right? But so yeah, thank you again for listening to Hi-Fi and Stage Dives. Again, as always, I'm your host, Ivan. And people, please, if you need help, say something. There's been people, famous people, and people, friends that are dying prematurely. And it's harsh, and like it makes you look at the world a whole different perspective. And be it from abuse of drugs or self-infliction, either way, dude, women, boys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, please say something, anything. Ask for the help, man. It's there. Fucking email me. I will never stop saying ask for help, and I will always be here for you. On that note, you guys fucking have a marvelous, marvelous week. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend. And as always, keep listening to music, because it always makes life that much better, and I will catch you on the flip side. Thank you again for listening to Hi-Fi and Stage Dives. It means the world to me. I'm glad you could come on this journey with me, and we'll keep doing it every week. Subscribe, rate and review, all that good stuff, and keep listening to music, because it only makes life better. And we'll see you on the flip side. Stay rad.